Thank you so much for joining us today. It is really my pleasure to welcome you to one of my favorite traditions at Cornell, our International Student Graduation Reception. My name is Gustavo Flores-Macías. I'm on faculty in the Government Department and the Brooks School of Public Policy, and I also serve as Associate Vice Provost for International Affairs. I'm truly delighted to have the opportunity to share this wonderful moment of celebration with all of you. We have a busy schedule during our next hour and a half or so, in which you'll hear from both, you'll hear from several people, but it'll be accomplished students, alumni, several esteemed colleagues that strive to make the international experience as meaningful as we would expect from a world-class institution like Cornell. Tonight is special because we get to celebrate international students' determination, their courage, and their success. Tonight is a reminder that the world's biggest problems are not ones that we can afford to tackle from our small corner of the world. It's a reminder that the world's most pressing problems cannot be addressed without global perspectives and global efforts. The global pandemic is perhaps the most recent pressing challenge, but the challenges requiring global solutions are many, right? From climate change to human trafficking, refugee crises, inequality, organized crime, to all-out war. Now, as straightforward as it may seem that global problems require global solutions, this isn't always evident to people or governments. We live in a time in which anti-global sentiments are widespread, barriers to cooperation have become generalized. Governments often seem to prefer to adopt inward-looking policies and to embrace zero-sum mentalities. Now, overcoming parochial perspectives and narrow-minded policies is not an easy task. But the international graduates we're celebrating today, all of you, you're uniquely positioned to succeed at that. I have a lot of faith in all of Cornell graduates, regardless of their degree or field of study. They're equipped with the sensitivity to identify the world's most pressing challenges, with the knowledge to understand the solutions to these challenges, and the perseverance to fix them. But I have special faith in our international graduates. First, because they have already demonstrated that extra grit, that extra creativity, the extra imagination needed to pursue a degree abroad. Second, because they've already overcome an often less than welcoming environment in the United States, as all of you well know. And third, because for these reasons, no one has to explain to you the importance of global perspectives, global efforts, and global solutions. It's basically already in your professional DNA. So, to all of you, international graduates of the class of 2023, know that you are well equipped to tackle the world's most pressing challenges. But also that this privilege comes with shared responsibility. The shared responsibility to go back into the world, and some of you will go back to your home countries, use the power of that knowledge you have acquired at Cornell to do good. While you're at it, enjoy the journey, because often the hardest tasks are the ones that bring the most pleasure. So congratulations to all of you, class of 2023. You have my complete admiration, and always remember what you've learned at Cornell so that you can share this wonderful knowledge with the rest of the world for the greater good. Don't forget to come back and say hi from time to time. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Wendy Wolford, Vice Provost for International Affairs, the Robert and Ruth Polson Professor of Global Development, and a major champion of all things international at Cornell. Wendy.
Hi, everyone. Your last test, maybe you still have tests, but one of your last tests here at Cornell was whether or not you could find this building. Congratulations. I still get stopped by parents and people on campus asking if I can direct them to this or that hall, and I almost never know. I get really excited when I do know. So if you come back to campus sometime, you're driving around, you're bringing your kids back to tour campus, maybe you want them to have some ice cream early so that they then always want to come to Cornell. If you see me on the road, you can ask me for directions, and it makes me very happy, and we'll see if I can tell you. It's really great to see you all. It's wonderful to be part of this graduation. It's nice to see so many people out. There is a celebration part of it. I know this part probably feels a little bit like every class you've ever attended at Cornell, but it is the, entry into the party. And so we're thrilled to be part of it. This is an unusual class here at Cornell. You are graduate students, professional students, undergraduate students, and in many ways, you are a class of firsts. So the largest class at Cornell, the largest undergraduate class so far, not the largest class to come, but one of the most international and most diverse classes we've ever had at the university. This is really exciting, and we hope that that only continues. 24 to 25% of our students at Cornell now are international students, and that's wonderful. Somebody came in the other day during the Board of Trustees meeting and said, it sounds like the United Nations out there. And that made us happy. That is what we like to see in what you might call the middle of nowhere, upstate New York. And to have that kind of cosmopolitan, vibrant campus is just such a joy. And it's a real privilege to get to have the brightest minds from around the world here on campus for a short time. When you leave here, you take Cornell with you, and you build Cornell networks and community everywhere you go. So I just had the privilege of being in Singapore and then traveling around India, meeting alumni from Bangalore to Delhi, Chandigarh, Chennai. And it was fantastic because whenever you're in a room of alumni, first of all, everybody has to take out their red. So I see very little red here tonight, but as you go forward, you just look for the sales on red stuff. And then you get together with your alumni communities and clubs everywhere. And the thing that you already know is that Cornell is huge here in Ithaca. We have a big reputation in this town. We have a big reputation in the United States, but we have a huge reputation abroad. Cornell has been working internationally and has educated some of the top politicians, policymakers, literary experts in the world for over 100 years. And so when you go to India, when you're me and you get to be in a group of alumni in Delhi, in Mumbai, when you get to travel around, what you see is there's this immediate affinity among graduates, among graduate students, professional undergraduates who spent time here. There is also this weird nostalgia for college town bagels, which, I mean, I get the nostalgia for the place, but not the bagels. I can tell you the recipe. It's salt, flour, and water. But anyway, it's probably seasoned with all of this sense of solidarity and suffering, right? A bagel is really good when you're sharing it with people who are like you, who have done all of this work to come to campus, right? You are extraordinary. International students have so much of my respect. I have been an international student and I've been a graduate student. I've never been the two at once, but I know how hard it is. I know that you give up your family and friends to move very far across the planet often. Even if you come from Canada, it can feel like quite a change. You move to a place where people don't know what the metric system is, where they don't speak the same language, where they often couldn't maybe find your hometown or your country even on a map. You come to a place that is very far and different, and you do it in order to work really hard. You do it in order to challenge yourself to put the most you have into this degree, whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 4 years. speaking for myself, 6 years, right? You can be at it a long time. And during that whole time, you gave everything you had to be in this place. And so we cherish all of our students. I particularly cherish our international students and respect very much the sacrifice that you've made. Now you get to go back out into the world and make the connections that you started here at Cornell, make those happen on a daily basis in the cities where you are. I'm going to get through this whole talk without mentioning the pandemic, except for mentioning that I'm not going to mention the pandemic. So I'm not going to say anything more about it, except that as extraordinary as you are, as Gustavo said, the challenges are immense, right? We need more vaccines. We need to fix the global economy. We need to rethink hospitality at a time when people have gotten used to being in isolation or indoors. What does it mean to go to a movie or stay in a hotel after this time in the pandemic? You need to figure out how to feed and house and clothe what is now over 8 billion people in the context of global climate change. The challenges are enormous, and what you've done over the past 2, 6, 4 years is to prepare yourself for making a difference in the world. And that makes us so proud. And I say to all of you, congratulations on all that you've accomplished in your time here, and good luck in all that you're going to do. We think of graduation as an end, it's sort of a bookend to your time here, but the word actually comes from the Latin to step, gradus. And it actually doesn't mean an end, it means a beginning. It means stepping out or stepping into, graduating into something. And that is what you're doing, taking a step forward, and we're thrilled for you. Congratulations. The distinct honor of introducing this man who, if you have carved a pumpkin on our campus, you have met Lanners. He is the executive director of the Office of Global Learning, and as Brandon and as Gustavo said of me, an incredible champion for international students. Thanks, Brandon.
Well, thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Gustavo. I always feel like when I'm on a stage like this, I should apologize for the reflection off my head. But some of you might have brought sunglasses, and it's okay if you put those on. Wonderful to have everyone here. So in the Office of Global Learning, this is a very exciting time for us, because around this time of the year, we're focused both on celebrating our graduating international students at this event, and also planning and promoting our orientation programs in August for new international students. It's such a privilege and an honor to share both the beginning and the end of your time at Cornell. And you've all done so much in between. Your perspectives and your work have enriched Cornell. So several years ago, we created our Global Citizen Award as one way to show our appreciation of your contributions. The Global Citizen Award recognizes graduating students who have advocated for international student engagement and success, and have had a positive impact on the international community at Cornell. So I'd now like to welcome to the stage this year's undergraduate awardee. Please join me in congratulating Megan Caballero. Megan studies human development and calls the Philippines and Singapore home. Megan has some graduation remarks for us. Megan.
So before I start, I just wanted to say thank you for the nomination and the award, and also congratulations to all of us, because it's definitely been a journey these past few years. So I remember entering Wegmans for the first time when I came to Ithaca 4 years ago, and man, I was overwhelmed. There was just so much food. I was overwhelmed by the options, choices, and freedom I had. But most of all, I was overwhelmed by the labels. You see, labels exist to help us classify and make sense of the world around us. In the grocery, labels profile the item based on its nutritional quality. Then there's 2-for-1 label deals, price labels, and brand names. Now, Cornell isn't some kind of grocery, but labels definitely exist in this place. And one label that I was prescribed when I first entered the community is the international student label. What does this even mean? The textbook definition of being an international student means being a foreigner temporarily studying in a country different than your own citizenship. As an international student in the US, those F1, J1, I-20, CPT, OPT abbreviations sound like a rap to anybody else, but these are the legal terms that bind us as we study here. And I'm sure for most of us, having this label is something that we've never had to grapple with before. But our time at Cornell allowed us to mold the international student label to become more than this textbook and surface level definition. You see, the paradox of being an international student is that even though we seem like incredibly disparate individuals coming to Cornell with their own culture, backgrounds, and values, we're a lot more similar than others think. The experience of having this international label is one that binds us together. We bond for the sole fact of being international. We bond because sometimes the struggles and triumphs that we faced these last few years can only be understood by someone who's undergone similar experiences. For example, it's having to build an entirely new support system while guiding yourself through cultural nuances and value systems that you've had limited exposure to before coming to Cornell. Or during the pandemic, missing home in terms of its physical location and the people so much because international borders were closed. It's the 40-hour flights with 2 layovers back home. It's the warmth that you feel when your family finally gets to visit you in frigid Ithaca. It's calculating time zones during and before video calls. It's cheering each other on as we search for career opportunities. And it's being introduced to the pinnacle of American culture, like making s'mores with one another for the first time. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. I mean, look around us. Isn't it crazy to think that people from all over the world ended up here in Ithaca, a place that we fondly call is in the middle of nowhere, a nowhere that becomes somewhere because of our time here, a bubble from the rest of the world, yes, is simultaneously a world of its own. As we look back at our time in Cornell, I hope we share the same humbling feeling, knowing that we'll always have a friend to visit around the world. A tour guide who comes from countries we've never even dreamed of visiting or knowing someone personally. It's been an incredible experience to hear life stories from other international students about their unique experiences and struggles they face because of where they're from. The experience of being international in Cornell is so much more than our country of citizenship. It's a celebration of the intersectionality of socioeconomic, cultural, and gender identities while navigating academics, work opportunities, and legal constraints as a student. And it's having the empathy to learn from one another about their own culture and learning together about what it means to be an international student in Ithaca. So, as we come to terms with what this international student label means to us in this chapter of our lives, I imagine that we'll all hold this label dearly. It's one of the many souvenirs that we'll take with us, even when we're kilometers away back home.
Got some Global Cornell bling for
Thank
for Megan. Thank you so much for that, Megan. That was fantastic. And I do have to admit, I was born in Chicago, but I still have to take a nap after I go to Wegmans. It's just something about that place. Well, now I'd like to congratulate our graduate awardee, Tenny Akeju. Tenny, come on out. So Tenny is graduating with an MBA and calls Nigeria home. Tenny, take it away.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this evening, and congratulations to Megan. That was amazing. So 2 years ago, I was working as a lawyer in Lagos, Nigeria, and I had just decided to leave my childhood home for the first time to pursue an MBA in the United States. Before I left Nigeria, I'd never lived outside of my mother's house. So in July, I packed my entire life into 2 suitcases and boarded a 13-hour flight across the Atlantic to start a new life in a small town in upstate New York. My journey so far has been one of learning, wonder, joy, and friendship. Thank you to all my friends for showing up today. My name is Tenny Akeju, and I'm honored to be here today to share a little bit about my experience as an international student here at Cornell. At the same time as me, many other students embarked on similar journeys to Ithaca. We all didn't quite know what to expect and had to find a way to build new lives in this strange, beautiful, unbelievably cold town. One of my earliest memories is a conversation I had with a friend. I was trying to find the ingredients for a particular Nigerian dish. So I was walking down the aisle at a grocery store, and he told me he'd never had that dish in Ithaca. You could not find the ingredients anywhere. And I was shocked because I couldn't believe this. So I braced myself for what I thought would be a very unpleasant, uncomfortable 2 years at Cornell. A few days later, I was invited to an event, and I was surrounded by fellow students from Colombia, Brazil, China, India, and all over the world. And I had a wild introduction to sake bombs and Korean barbecue. And all thoughts of that dish escaped my mind in that moment. In that moment, I became determined to make the most of my experience here at Cornell. I believe that my experience has been enriched because I was unable to retreat into the familiar. And this has allowed me to fully embrace the beauty and diversity of the international experience here at Cornell. This beauty and diversity are thoroughly woven through the fabric of the school. In the classrooms, at school-organized social events, at private parties, or even during a semester abroad. In class discussions, I learned from my classmates as I shared personal anecdotes and differing worldviews on a variety of subjects, even the touchiest ones. After these debates, I left the classroom with so many new ideas, some of which I disagreed with, but all of which added to and shaped my previously held views and beliefs. It is important to note here that these conversations would never have happened if my classmates and I had not felt we're in a safe space for open, judgment-free dialogue. This safe space fostered a sense of mutual respect and empathy, enabling us to freely express our thoughts without fear of retribution or ridicule, and engage in meaningful dialogue. Social events added a lot of color to our lives. I had the pleasure of joining my colleagues from Latin America, India, and China as they celebrated Carnival, Diwali, Holi, and Lunar New Year. I'm grateful to them for their grace and patience as I struggled to keep up with their dance moves during these performances. These events were a glimpse into the beautiful cultures and traditions of various people across the world and provided an opportunity to take part in the celebrations. I am immensely grateful for the well-rounded education I have received. More than ever before, I find myself seeking out new ways to engage with people from different cultures and backgrounds. We find ourselves in a world that is being pushed further apart with the divisive rhetoric propagated by people with unscrupulous and sinister intentions. I am, however, confident that the people I have met here can do their parts in our own ways to bring the world closer together. Through our education and interactions with people from different backgrounds, we can learn to appreciate and respect each other's differences. We can learn to celebrate our diversity rather than allow it to drive us apart. By doing so, we can help to create a more unified and peaceful world. As we move forward, let us continue to embrace opportunities to learn from one another and build bridges of understanding, kindness, and respect. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Tenny. Really appreciate it. I was trying to get sake bombs on the menu for this reception, but it didn't work. So now I know for next time. So I would also now like to call to the stage our Global Citizen Award nominees. So I'm going to call up a couple of people, come on up, and then I'll pass out our cords so that you can be recognized. First, we have Oyinyechi Emerole, Biomedical Engineering, Nigeria. Who I should have read my note, could not attend, but we will get her report. So thank you all for clapping. Next, we have Shrishti Pradeep Sangeeta Banka. MBA, India. Next, Aishwarya Bhaskaran. Engineering Management, home country, India. Next, Stavros Orphanos, MBA, Ruth. Calvin Tong, MBA, Hong Kong. And Gabriela Sanabria, MPS Management, Colombia. Another round of applause to you. Thank you. Thank you to all of our awardees and all of our nominees. Thank you so much. And now I would like to introduce our next guest, Michelle Vaeth, Cornell Class 98, and Associate Vice President, Alumni Affairs. Michelle.
Thank you for that welcome, Brandon. Thank you and congratulations to all of the nominees and Tenny and Megan. Those remarks were absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us today. I am from the class of 98 from CALS, and but for a long time I did not live here in Ithaca and I did not work for Cornell. I spent about 20 years of my career prior to coming back to our alma mater working for various different companies around the world. And I am so excited. I was so excited to come back 5 years ago to assume this position to lead alumni affairs for the university and to realize how truly international the student body had become, especially compared to my time at Cornell in the late 90s, mid to late 90s. So it is absolutely a pleasure to be with you here today. Congratulations. And I am here for what some might call a shameless plug, but I'm going to call it the wonderful reminder that everywhere you go off of this campus, Every country that you travel to in the world, there are going to be Cornell alumni. There is always going to be a community for you to connect with, no matter where you are. And that's part of the beauty of being a Cornellian. And it really is up to you to just simply engage. And there's lots of different ways to engage. It could be as easy as, here's the shameless plug, go to our website, which is alumni.cornell.edu, just to start. It's a way to start navigating your way around the alumni community. But also, if you don't find something there that interests you, you can reach out to, second shameless plug, alumniaffairs@cornell.edu, and just ask the question. Say, hey, I'm living wherever it is that you are venturing to next, and I'm looking to connect with Cornellians, and my staff and I will find a way to plug you in. And we have Cornell clubs in over 50 countries around the world. And those are very organized ways that you can be tapped into attending Cornell programming and events. And if you want to be even more involved, there are opportunities to volunteer for Cornell, no matter where you are in the world. It really, truly is up to you. And I hope that you engage with Cornell, no matter where you are. I hope, yes, that you come back to visit us in Ithaca, but Cornell is so much more than Ithaca. And this room is just a wonderful reminder, just looking around and knowing all the various places that you will all spread out to around the world and the tremendous impact that you are going to have. So once a Cornellian, always a Cornellian. You truly are, our alumni truly are the secret sauce that keeps Big Red Spirit alive throughout the world. So congratulations to you, to your family, to your friends who have joined here today. And the last thing that I will say is go Big Red. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. Several years ago, we started a tradition of welcoming international Cornell alumni to speak at this event. So if you could give us just a moment while we get things ready for our next speaker, who has been following us via Zoom. One moment. All right.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine, Alex. Everyone,
Great.
please join me in welcoming Alex Ponomarenko.
Hi, guys. Congratulations. You are more motivated than most of your peers because you took a risk. You left your country behind, you left your friends, you left your families, you came here because you wanted to accomplish something. I was in the same position, 1991, in Ukraine. I wanted to leave the country and I wanted to come and study in US. I had no way of doing it. I had no money, I had no visa. So to get a visa, I actually had to join a cult. Yes, a cult. I was a cult member for 10 days. And my parents barely scraped enough money. They sold pretty much everything. I mean, they left the apartment, but they sold the car and they sold their possessions, and they barely scraped $200 for me to get on the plane and come to US. Long story short, I met wonderful people, Cornellians, who have helped me out. So I lived in their family for a year, went to community college in Connecticut, and got into Cornell. I was jumping up and down on one day, and the next day I got a letter saying, by the way, the tuition is $18,167, and it's due in 30 days. So pony up. So the family I stayed with, the guy said, why don't you issue your own bond? I said, what is a bond? I said, bond is a piece of paper where you write and you promise people that you will borrow the money and you'll pay it back. So that's what it was. The rest is history. I raised $36,000 to pay for my 2 years at Cornell. Graduated in 1994 with a degree in art in economics from arts and sciences, and went to work on Wall Street. So I worked for Wall Street bracket firms in New York for 5 years, London 3 years, did 6 years of commercial real estate development in Los Angeles, then worked for another 3 years in Moscow for Deutsche Bank, another 2 years in London, and I retired at the age of 45 because I wanted to spend more time with my family. My kids were small and they're growing up. So that's what I did. There's a few things I learned throughout my journey, which I would like to share with you, and those may or may not work for everyone. Everyone is different, but here's what worked for me. My first advice is know what you want. Please raise your hands, those of you who know where they want to be in the next 3 years. That's about right. That's about the response that I'm getting most of the time. It's a relatively small portion of people who know. Interestingly, I read this study that was done at one of the Ivy League schools, which raised the question to the graduates, and only a small fraction, I don't remember exactly, I think it was Yale University, and only 5 or 7% of graduates knew what they want, where they wanted to be. 10 years later, 15 years later, they took a survey to see how well the graduates were doing. And the surprising part was that the small fraction of people who knew and had very specific goals, their net worth was more than the remainder of the class. I think knowing what you want is important. Your blueprint of life will change as you go, but it's better to have the plan. I would write make tangible written goals with a clear timetable. And most importantly, I recommend that you understand why you want to achieve those goals. Your heart and brain needs to be connected and in harmony. And then you can move mountains. In the end of the day, you have to ask yourself a question, why am I doing this? And in most places, in most cases, people want to do things because they want to experience certain feelings. People want to achieve success not because it's money or because it's a title. People want to achieve success for various reasons, and for everyone it's different. Be in control, provide for my family, have a challenge that I want to accomplish. Understanding why you want to do those things is very important. I knew what I wanted, and things changed, but again, it's good to have a plan. And when you have a plan and you tell your brain what you want to achieve, it's amazing the stuff that your brain will come up with. I was in Los Angeles, and I wanted to get involved in real estate development and real estate investments. The thing about real estate is very capital intensive, and I had no money. So every morning I would run on Venice Beach, and I would say to myself, I would do this mantra: everyone can buy real estate with money. I am going to buy real estate without money. Well, sure enough, a deal came by and no one wanted to do it because someone wanted to structure a certain specific deal and defer taxes. Well, I found a loophole in state of California tax code that allowed me basically to purchase that property without putting any cash down. So it was called installment sale. So instead of taking cash, the guy took a note from me saying that it was backed by the real estate. In any case, I managed to pull the deal off, and that's really what kind of set me off. And I sold that property several years later for a lot of money. So tell your brain where you need to go. Ask your brain the right questions, and your brain will tell you what to do. Believe me, try it. It's really remarkable. Another thing I would like to mention is, there's a saying, you can do anything but not everything, meaning that you need to focus on certain things in order to achieve what you want. And that ultimately requires sacrifice. So if you want to go and do finance, investment banking, bulge bracket firm, you got to keep in mind that your social life will probably suffer somewhat. And you need to make those decisions, make those sacrifices in order to achieve the goal that you set for yourself. So focus on next steps, keep your eye on a big prize. Set the goals that are crazy. Set the goals that they're inspiring. But otherwise you wouldn't be really psyched about achieving them. If someone told me that with $200 I would come to New York City, graduate from Ivy League school 2 years later, work for bulge bracket firms on Wall Street, and retire at age 45, I'd say you're crazy. But I did it because I knew what I wanted. I found my own path, and I'm sure you'll find yours. It's very exciting. So congratulations, and welcome to a new chapter of your life. Thank you.
Alex Ponomarenko, thank you. And I now know what I'm doing 3 years from now. Retiring.
As I said before, I expect in writing with clear timetables. I'll take nothing else.
To an Excel document.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, please don't. Alex, thank you so much. Thank you for those words and that guidance. And actually, if you want to keep your video on, we'll just have another minute left. Maybe we can just all close this up together.
Perfect.
So we are now nearing the end of this portion of the event. In a few minutes, we're going to move to the other room to enjoy our reception. Before we do that, I want to thank a couple of people. Number one, Lauren Gabuzzi. Lauren, who not only organized this event, but also got us a platinum sustainable event rating through Cornell's Sustainability Office. So platinum sustainability. Let me also thank Asha Saniker and everyone's help from the Office of Global Learning and Global Cornell, to Cornell Catering, Pam Gillow here at Biotech, and Kenny Christensen for the tech support. Also to all of our speakers and Global Citizen awardees and nominees. Thank you all. So once you get into the atrium out the door, you're going to find some QR codes that are posted around the room. Please use those to fill out our brief survey. We asked a couple questions on the event. What did you like? How could we make it better? Make sure to do that by 7:30, because at that time we're going to announce a winner. We have a $25 Cornell store gift card that we'll be giving out. However, you do need to stay here to get the award. And as I said, there are no sake bombs available, so you'll have to figure that out. So to close, to our graduating students, I hope you find joy, inspiration, and strength when you reflect on your time at Cornell. Continue to share your global perspective. The world needs it. Thank you. We are so proud of you, and congratulations.